I have with me the entrepreneur and counselor, Mrs. Marie Rose Saki. Good morning.
Good morning, Chico.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you too?
I'm good. Thank you so much
Good
for
to
being
see you
with us.
again.
It's good to see you. It's always good to see you.
You're really bubbly this morning.
Well, April is almost over, so I'm glad.
That's great.
Now, our faith and our relationships. Why is this topic really important?
It's a very sensitive area. Yeah, because we know that we fall in love. We don't control how we fall in love. Some people, may calculate to fall in love. But normally, when you fall in love with somebody, you meet the person, the chemistry is working, you are gelling before you realize, hey, you like the person. You are somehow, you find yourself kind of getting closer to the person, liking the person in a way that you cannot control. That's why you find people marrying a tall person, marrying a short person, an ugly person, a beautiful, that kind of combination, because you don't really choose much. It's the heart that decides, your emotion, psyche. So many things come into play. And in much the same way, it happens with our faith. And we can basically describe our faith as our religion. What we believe in concerning spirituality and all that. So sometimes it happens, we can have interreligion relationships, and then we have interdenominational relationships. Sometimes with the interdenominational relationship, it's not as bad because you might still be professing almost the same doctrines, because every religion has its own doctrines, and that's where it becomes a difficulty. Every religion has its own principles and precepts that you have to follow. So if you are in the same, like you're all Christians, but different denomination, you're a Catholic, a Methodist, Anglican, a Charismatic, that one is not as difficult as if you are a Christian and you are going out for somebody who is maybe a traditionalist or a Muslim or a Buddhist and an atheist. An atheist is not, he doesn't believe in God. So as for that one, we don't even count them in. But he will be a non-believer.
If you have a situation like that where you're a Christian and you're in a relationship with an atheist, how do you merge
that will be very, very difficult, because he doesn't believe in the existence of God. The other religions believe in the existence of God, but their worship towards him or their acknowledge towards God, it's different from how you practice your own. But an atheist is somebody who doesn't even believe the existence of God, and you believe in God. So how are you going to?
So that will be very difficult.
That will be very, very difficult.
Okay, so let's look at the ones that.
So we are focusing
possible.
on the
So let's say a Muslim and a Christian.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
So you find yourself, you're in love before you realize that, hey, the person is maybe into this religion or a background like that. First of all, what you have to look at is that, what does your church say? That your church, the principles, where if you are really, really engaged in church activities and all that, what does your church say? What does your family say? What does his background people also say? His religion, his people. Because if your family don't accept it, it becomes very, very, very difficult. Yeah. But then, like I said, because you don't control, you are in love. You want each other so much. You want to be together. And so the big thing is that it's a lot of compromise in such a relationship. You have to compromise everything. So in the case where your families don't really bother much, or even wherever that your religion you're coming from don't disturb you too much, and thinks that there's a leeway that you can use to marry. Now you have to look at yourself. If you're married or you're now going to marry, then it boils down on the two of you, how you have to build up such a relationship, because already it's an uneven ground. When it comes to your faith or something you believe in, we are usually strong about it. And so if your faith about something is so strong and his or hers is also that strong, it can bring conflict. So the first thing is that you don't focus on your differences. Your common denominator here is love. So you have to focus on your love for each other. Unconditional acceptance for each other. That is what you're going to be, that is what is going to be your your building block or the foundation on which you're going to build that relationship. So you have to live your life, consider wherever that you are coming from, believe in, don't go with the mind, I'm going to convert the person. That will bring a lot of conflict in the relationship. You'll live your life as best as you can. Even in the book of Corinthians, it admonishes us that when you find yourself in a relationship with a non-believer, live your life such that you'll be an example to the person who is a non-believer, so that the person, you can win the person over without a force, but by your lifestyle, by your good deeds, you can win over. And it's happened sometimes in some relationship where people have been won over to the other side, whichever side that it might be. But then if your background, they are not accepting so much, then hey, I think you have to forget about the love and look somewhere else, because at least sometimes we enter into love relationships, it doesn't work, we start all over again. So you just take it like maybe a relationship that didn't work and then start over and look for a new person. But in the case where all circumstance is right and you are in there, learn to pray together.
So how do you pray together? Let's say I prefer to be by myself because it's a very spiritual moment for me, and you prefer to make noise in the house and all those things, especially if we are from different religions. How do we do that?
It's a compromise. It's a compromise in the sense that you agree that, oh, at this particular time in the week or of the month or this whatever of the day, maybe in the morning, you will say your prayer and I will join you, whatever that it is. And then in the evening, I will say my prayer. And then because of our spirituality, all our aim is the same, like the same God. If we believe the principles with which our spirituality comes, then we will have that kind of mindset that we will do it together. I used to be in an association, and this association was full of a lot of Christians and a lot of Muslims. And so what we always did was that when the meeting starts, they start with the Christian prayer, ends with the Muslim prayer, or starts with the Muslim prayer, ends with the Christian prayer. And there's always peace.
Does that mean that the Christian will learn how to do the Muslim prayer and the Muslim
no,
also
you just close your eyes. Not that you put your head on the...
Okay,
no,
so
they're mode of... But you sit down and then they pray,
Okay,
audibly.
okay.
Like the person who can speak the how do you call it? The Arabic language.
The Arabic
but
language.
then when they finish, then they will translate it into English for people to understand.
Okay.
Like the way we just pray, Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus, that kind of thing.
But how do you deal with deal breakers, like the person's religion does not allow them to eat certain things, and you are now in a relationship with them? Do you make a compromise of deciding that, okay, I'm also not going to do this to ensure that you don't accidentally expose them to something that they shouldn't eat in the first place?
Everything boils down to the two of you. Decision. I said it's all about compromise. So when it comes to food, if the person is intolerant, there's some people, it's allergy.
But
Others,
like Muslims can eat pork, for
yes.
instance.
Others is because of the religion. So if you still love your pork, or if you still love whatever food that it is that you want to eat, and you don't want to let it go, make sure that you prepare the food his separately and yours separately. And sometimes even you don't have to use the utensils that you use to cook that meal. And you have to respect that. It's a decision, and you have to stick to your decisions, So if you love that person and you want peace in your house, that is what you have to do. When it comes to even when you're married and you have children, where do your children go to church? How do you do it? You can decide once again. It's all about talking, communicating, striking a balance in whatever that we are doing. So you can sit down and decide that, okay, maybe the man would say, when we have our children, when we marry, we have our children, you are going to go to church with the children. Once in a long while, they will come with me. Or the man will say, they will go to my church. And then once in a long while, we'll visit you at your church. So it's a decision that some people take, that I'll go to my church, you go to your church. And then, or I'll go to my place of worship, you go to your place of worship. But then on special occasions, we will accompany each other to give that support, that spiritual support. So there's that acceptance. And also don't focus too much on your differences. Because if you focus so much on your differences, that you're a Muslim and I don't like the way you bow down, put your head on the ground to pray and all that kind of thing. They have to do all the ablution or whatever And sometimes, excuse me, sometimes there's some people when they go and do the ablution, you see the whole place is wet and all that kind of thing. It can bring a lot of conflict. But you have to look at it. You have gone in there. Do you want to save your love, or you want to focus on this other thing that makes you two different?
And also, sometimes isn't it good to be more curious about why they do it? Because I think once you even understand why they do it, you may even want to adopt that yourself. Because I think the whole ideology of being clean before you talk to a higher being is something that's very valuable.
Yes, definitely you have to do a lot of talking. You have to appreciate. That's why I say you don't have to depend too much or look at your differences much. Rather, try and understand the other person, where he's coming from, their motive or their vision and all that. And for whatever thing that they do, that sometimes you will sit back and condemn or laugh at. If they explain it to you, you might appreciate. You might not necessarily go and join them, but appreciating the person and giving the person that respect, that this is your area, I respect your area. You have to pray 5 times a day. I respect it. You have to do it. And then I do mine any time of the day. So when you see me speaking my tongues, you don't laugh at me, you know, that kind of thing. And then the other thing you also have to look at is the fact that sometimes you are in a religion where you tithe. You know, people have issue with tithing. And then one likes tithing, the other doesn't believe in tithing. And then now you are earning your monies. Maybe you put your income together. That could be a challenge. So it's, once again, it comes to educating the other person to let him understand that this is what I believe in. This is what my religion teaches me to do. And I want to adhere to that principle or that doctrine and get the blessings out of it. So I am going to do it anyway. Maybe you can decide to do it before you bring your money to put together, so that, so it's on the side. So you can decide that definitely you will have a little money for yourself. So your money you can use to do that and then bring peace to the house.
There's a message here. Julius from Adenta says, good morning, Jifa. As for me, I think the best thing to do is marry somebody with the same faith for peace to reign. So Julius thinks that's just marry the people. But please wrap up for us. What are the tips that we need, especially those watching us who are of different faiths and are in a relationship that they want to preserve?
Since we are in the world, you know, the ideal thing is, even when it comes to marriage, we have interracial, intercultural, so many things.
Interable.
You know, and it's up to you. But many times you'd want to find people of the same understanding, beliefs, or whatever. It makes life much, much easier, of course, much, much easier. But we are talking of situations where sometimes it happens. We can't just gloss over it and say that we've seen people fall in love with people from different background altogether, and it becomes a big challenge. Some children are disowned from their families because of that. Some people have never had a blessing from their parents because of that. People have had to elope to go and marry. In situations like that, how do you handle it? So this is what we are talking about, that for you to still have your peace, if you find yourself in a situation like that, you can work something out. Live your life the best that you can to challenge the other person, to bring the other person to your side. I believe so. And try as much as possible to talk, communicate, compromise. Don't hype up your differences. Love each other, because we are all human. Look at the humanness in the person and the nature of God in the person, and love the person. And by your good deeds, I believe that you can bring some good results out of that relationship.
Mrs. Marie Rosaki, thank you so much for being with us. It's always an honor.
Thank you.
And as she says, focus on the humanity of the person and the goodness in them and not the differences. Now, if you've been moving money from one place to the other, whether it's by applying for a school online, buying or paying for a service online, or even paying anything with mobile money, chances are you've used IT Consortium's platform to move the money from your bank account to that person, or from your mobile money account to that person. We're celebrating 20 years of financial inclusion in Ghana and all over the continent, and we want to celebrate it with you. Throughout the year, we'll have events that will invite you to. So thank you so much for joining us on this 20-year journey of promoting financial inclusion in Ghana and Africa. And we have a lot more coming up for you from IT Consortium. We're going to go for a quick break.